As we learned today, Bez Hashem, as we saw, first of all, we can't say enough of this, the importance of Yanam's Pruta, the Nesasav and Asata Bamuna, not touching what's not ours. That's certainly something that's guiding us in all of our lives, but B'derech Klal, Yanam's Pruta is sacred. Shel Shalai Midas Gazlan means using it, you're not using it, it's considered Geneva, and in theory it's even Noitel Nafshai. In halacha, it would almost be that a person has to give up his life and not to take someone else's money. That's what the Gemara says, but he has to take Yanam's gel to save his life, but Amanas Teshalim. So in other words, in theory, it's almost Yarg Vayavar not to take someone else's money. In practice, you have to save your life, Amanas Teshalim. But certainly, it gives us a different feeling to our shaylas using someone's item is off limits. Even if you know he would give rishus, we paskin yesh shalai midas, lo have a yesh. Even if you're the victim and someone took my hat, so that most pais can feel there's not a heta. Indeed, when a person's item was exchanged, leave the other item there, that's the best alternative. We did see that it's starting to be makel. Number one, Bizman Hazeh, the Aruch HaShulchan seems to feel that there's no kapeda, which is questionable. That's true today. We did see, based on the Rav, using it once, if there's no kilo, if there's no devaluation, if it doesn't get ruined in any way, there might be a heta, just using someone's coat once to go home in a very cold winter morning, especially if someone's the victim. B'shas atchak, the b'chach is mekel, and even that he says, you got to be careful from the leftover feeling of basa ganva gnoiv. And hopefully there's an answer hadi in some cases that the person that took your item would allow you to wear his. Best to avoid it when possible, but remember the basagan v'ganoy, when a person does something, he feels more hamish to it and then he could do it again. Now, long-term change is really, we have the munach alternative, which is very important. If someone has an item that's an aveda and no one's claiming it, he could take the item, appraise it, how much it's worth, write it down in a place that it will remain, and use it or sell it or throw it out. That would be a munach alternative in our times. If someone wants, he could also, of course, hold on to it, but that's something that's very hard today in our times especially. If the other person realized that they exchanged the item, after a time you could assume the other person exchanged, so there might be a mutual agreement, I could keep his, he could keep mine, so both will avoid the issa of Geneva. If the other person did never realize that he changed the item, that's a problem that really you can't rely on this umdun gemura because the other person didn't know. A moisid has a policy 30 day or whatever it is, or whatever the number of days it is, but after that days come to an end, the moisid could either keep it, sell it, throw it out, or give it back, but the Olam has to know that this is, otherwise it wouldn't be feasible to have a moisid properly because there's so many avedas. Basically, it's even if the person didn't actually read the sign, there are those hold that it's automatic. Oh, that's questionable, but definitely when a person read it, he is definitely bound by those agreements. If someone receives someone else's mail, it's kedai to call them and tell them to pick it up. They don't have to return it, but at least to call them and notify them about the mail. A grocery delivery, a switch of food, you could write down how much it's worth, and basically, if someone claims, you'll have to give them back that value. If you found money in your pocket, it's another munach alternative. Write down the amount and the siman, and if someone claims it, you'll give back b'tshuas chen. If you lost an item and this looks like yours, but you're not certain, there's enough sudden be mekel because you did have an item. It's not a regular veda, and if it looks like yours, the place can be allowed to keep it. If a cleaner's exchanged items, so you can't keep his until you get back yours, give back what's not yours, and hope the cleaners will either reimburse you or give you back your shirt. A talis, using someone else's talis is not pashit, people are makbid, but again, if a shas atchak right before ne'ilah, before musaf, and there's no other choice, there's yeshal milisvay, hopefully the person that is wearing your talis doesn't want to be a ganaf either, so there's a mutual agreement that we're moichel each other and you could wear the talis. A better idea would be take the shul's talis, then you can make another brach if need be, but on a talis shul there's no heter to make a brach unless you know he was maknit alatana manas lahachzem. A hat before mincha is questionable. Some people are makbid, but if you could assume that it's mamish a short use and he's not makbid, we have the heter that we mentioned earlier. A yeshiva in a camp makes a hefka policy or even exchange policy would avoid a lot of questions, that anybody that exchanged is moichel the other person until they actually are able to change it. Yeah. So what happened there? What's the geblieben? Oh, nothing. You still have it?